Today on Hands On Photography, I am joined by he's flat out photography legend. Mr. Kevin Reece sits down with me, and we're just going to go through a bit of a journey back in time in his photography career and just get some bits and pieces of knowledge and just all kinds of great photography nuggets that I just found fascinating. Some great stories, some great images. And Mr. Kevin is a lot of fun. Y'all really going to dig this conversation. Y'all stay tuned.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This episode of Hands On Photography is brought to you by Nareva. Nareva has simplified everything about meetings and classroom audio. You get great audio and systems that are easy to install and manage. Visit nareva.com/twit and get 50% off one Nareva HDL 300 system for mid-size rooms when you get a live online demo and buy before December 16th, 2022. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm Pruitt. I hope you're doing well. I am unbelievable as always. This is Hands On Photography here on TWiT.tv. This is a fine show where I like to sit down and share different tips and tricks that are going to help make you a better photographer as well as a better post processor. And every now and then I am honored and blessed with opportunities to sit down with other professional photographers out here in this world that are doing some great things, and they always have some interesting stories and interesting tips to share with you, the loyal Hands-On Photography listener. Now, this week we do have a guest, but allow me a few minutes before we bring the guest on. First, I just want to say thank you and welcome to all of you that are joining us for the very first time. I really do appreciate all of that support. Go ahead and just go ahead and subscribe right now, whatever podcast application you're using. Yeah, I know Apple Podcasts is the king of all of the apps, but there's other apps out there too. There's Spotify, there's Overcast, there's even YouTube. Yes, we podcast to our YouTube channel as well. Subscribe there, like, share, all of that magical algorithmic stuff. Really does help out the show, helps push us up in the ratings. I really do appreciate that. Secondly, my voice sounds weird today. Yes, you probably noticed. I want to apologize for that. But then again, I shouldn't apologize because I was yelling at a football game all weekend. And when you're a passionate football fan like myself and you go to the games live, yes, you will yell. And this is what your voice is going to sound like for a few days. So that's neither here nor there. Anyway, hey, we got a guest this week. Today, I'm sitting down with Mr. Kevin Reece. He is an unbelievable photographer with quite a storied history. He's been doing this craft and skill for a very, very long time. And I can't wait to just sit down and pick his brain. And hopefully, he's going to share some little nuggets with me that's going to help me get a little bit better. And maybe we'll share those tips with y'all too. I'm selfish. I just want to get all the goodies and tips for myself. Kidding. Anyway, Mr. Kevin Reece is here in California. He's been shooting for the NFL. He's been shooting for the NBA. He's been shooting for the Major League. He's been shooting a little bit of everything. It's not just a sports photographer. It's so much more than that. But let's go ahead and bring him on. Mr. Kevin, how you doing, sir?
Yeah. Hey, good to be on with you, man.
Sir, I really do appreciate you joining me today, and it's an honor to have you on. Going back through and just looking at your history and looking at the things you shoot, and we have a mutual friend.
Oh yeah.
And we're talking about Mr. Terrell Lloyd down there with the 49ers football team. He and I talk here and there, because he's a little busy right now that football season is going, but he's such a great dude, and he had nothing but nice things to say about you. And I will
probably see him on Sunday.
Yep. 'Tis the season. So you'll be shooting with him on the sidelines too and running around and running circles around him, I'm sure, right?
No, well, I used to, but I don't run those circles as fast as I used to.
So, Mr. Kevin, tell us a little about you and what you've been doing over the years. The typical question that photographers get is, hey, what was the first camera you got? I'm not going to ask you that. But what I do want to know is what got you interested in the world of photography, all of these years ago? Was it just accessibility, or what was it in particular that got you into photography?
Well, if you want to know that, it has to, how many hours do we have? Well, if I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. Really,
Okay.
I mean, my mother was really into taking photos, and that really kind of started it there.
Okay.
And to this day, I still have some of those photos that she took many years ago. And then when I was in junior high school or middle school, I joined a camera club there. And then when I got to high school, God blessed me with a teacher who took me, and I wouldn't even be talking to you right now if it hadn't been for my high school photography teacher. God rest his soul.
Now that's a pretty strong statement, really.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Some of us are fortunate to have a person that sort of just happened to be placed into our lives, beyond our control. There's two people in my head right now, and they're my coaches, and I love dearly. Those two cats, they changed my life as a young teenager. So it sounds like this was a bit of the same thing for you with your art teacher.
I ran track also, so I had coaches too. I still do my running,
Yeah.
but did it tonight. But that man changed my life. He really did.
Yeah.
And I came from a very good family. My mother and father were together until my father passed.
Right.
And then my mother passed. And I have cousins and so on and so forth. So I came from a very good family. But my photography teacher really is my mentor, and he took me to my very first photo show.
Okay.
In high school, and paid for the ride on the subway. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, so I'm from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn.
Bed-Stuy, all right.
Oh yeah, do or die.
Bed-Stuy, and he's got the shirt on.
There you go. But I mean, no, he was a total inspiration, and I mean, we can go on for hours. I could tell you about him, but he's really the foundation. I have to say that. And in fact, he came the last time I saw him. He came to my show. I had photos at a show in New York, and he came to that show that night and brought his grandson. And it was pouring rain that night in New York too. But he came to that show, and unfortunately at the time I didn't know that would be the last time I saw him. But he's really there. And then I just took it. My cousin was a radio reporter in Washington, and he got me, believe it or not, back in the day when you could call up a team and be from a radio station and ask for photo passes.
Things are just a little bit different now.
Yeah, they a lot different. And they went for it. And really, that's kind of how I got started, really, to be honest with you. And then I took the ball and I just ran with it. And
nice.
And I really haven't put since high school, I haven't put the camera down since, really.
That's awesome. So it was sports that sort of drew you in more to the genre, or was it other types of photography that kept you hooked?
I mean, I had always been doing, I won a local, getting back to my high school days, I won a local photo contest. I won first place in a local photo contest.
Nice.
And I won second place in a national photo contest.
Good grief.
Yeah, in high school.
Nice.
And that's when I kind of figured, okay, well, I ain't gonna make a living running track. And back then they had the pro track league or whatever it was before. I guess that's what it was. And I kind of figured that, and I said, okay, well, maybe I should focus in on this. And so that's kind of how it kind of played out. And then, I was doing other types of photography, and then my cousin kept getting me into these games.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I started taking them to, again, a completely different industry at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I started taking them to all these magazines and newspapers, and they liked the work. And again, I just kept banging on doors and kept shooting games. And like they say, the rest is hysterical.
Well, all right. So I'm sure there has been a lot of changes, but there's one thing, at least in my experience, that hasn't changed is it takes a bit of a motor. It takes a bit of some self-motivation and self-driver to say, you know what, I need to go. You're not knocking on doors anymore. Now it's, I need to email these people. I need to call these people. I need to email them over and over and over again. At least that's my experience. Is that still the same today? You still need to be able to make connections.
These days, it's kind of agency driven. My role in the industry is completely different from what Terrell Lloyd does.
Mm-hmm.
So we both have like completely different approaches to the whole business. Okay?
Right.
And so, I work with my main client these days, as we speak, is I'm working with a newspaper here in Southern California, Antelope Valley Press.
Okay.
And I work with them. I basically only cover pro sports here in Los Angeles, and like there's almost a game every night in Los Angeles.
Yeah. You think?
Just about. Certainly every weekend, that's for sure. Okay. Every weekend, that's for sure. But almost every night, 365, I would say 340 of them,
That's crazy.
There's a game here in Los Angeles of some type. And so I basically work with them now. And also I do assignments for AP.
Right.
And a couple of other agencies. And that's pretty much where I work right now. That's where my concentration is right now.
Now, what was it like for you starting out trying to build the relationships with those different agencies that are out there? Because nowadays everybody has some type of marketing team, some type of PR firm or team, if you will, or even some type of PR agency that they specifically work with. What was it like?
Well, give me the names of those, because I could use some of those. Give me some names and emails, man, because I could use some of those. But again, I've been in the business a long time, and you use the word relationships. So I have relationships with people I've been working with 10, 15, and some of them 20 years. Wow. So they know me. They know what to expect from me. I know what to expect from them.
Right.
I trust them in their decisions and so on and so forth.
Right.
So but I probably could use some PR firm to promote my work. Yeah.
Well, I don't necessarily want to give them a plug or anything, but I've worked with a company called Edelman, and I believe they're down there in your area in Southern California. I'll give them your information. I've worked with them on covering events in the past, like with Adobe. They were my first in with Adobe and handling their events and so forth. And I've worked with them on a couple other products here and there, and they're just great. And like you said, it's a relationship, because TWiT being a podcast network, we get a lot of different PR folks, marketing folks reaching out to us all the time, all day long. Hey, my client so-and-so would be a great fit as a guest on your show. That's usually the pitch that we get. And a lot of times it's a lot of stuff that you've never even heard of, some things you probably don't want to be associated with or whatever, but they're doing their job. They're doing that type of marketing. They're just casting a wide net. I get that. So when you talk to people, especially in our industry, being able to connect with one or two particular PR folks, it makes a big difference, because it's a legit relationship. I know my agents by name and can call them, email them, or what have you, and they're going to help me out if it's time for me to get a story covered or whatnot. You know, so
I've never had an agent. That's I've worked with agencies to sell my photos, but I've never personally had an agent.
Oh, no. I'm not saying I have an agent. I'm just saying I know the representatives at the agency that can help, steer the road and get me in the door of said client, that kind of thing. It's been fun trying to build those relationships, and it's been bumpy here and there, but it's just a nice learning experience. And it all boiled down to form a relationship, just be genuine, and you'll be all right. And you clearly have done that. So I need to be getting more into your head. Now I want to pull up a couple images here real quick here. So let me see if I could switch my screen. This one here in particular, you know that guy?
Yeah, that guy bumped. This guy tapped me on the shoulder at a 49ers game about 25 years ago. And you know what's interesting about that? First of all, did you know that Terrell was a Pro Bowler?
I did not know that.
Yes. See, I know.
Are you serious?
Has a heart attack.
Oh, dude. See, he didn't even tell me that. He has told me a lot of things on the phone here recently. Yeah. I
didn't think you knew that. But he
left out. Oh,
yeah. Hit him up with that.
Oh, man.
He was on the Pro Bowling tour.
Nice. He was a PBA guy. That's awesome.
I don't know if it was PBA, but I know he was a Pro Bowler. That's for sure.
That's fascinating. But
that's for sure. Yeah.
And it explains a lot too, though, because there's a certain bit of calculation in the world of bowling. People, the way they see things, them cats, they could see the daggum oil on the lane like nobody's business, So
yeah, but
wow.
But Terrence, first of all, we're very good friends, and I stayed at his house, and he stayed at my house down here in LA, and. He when he was on your show, he mentioned that when he was starting out, some people were icy and didn't want to like talk to him and whatnot. But he also said that there were a couple of guys that did talk to him, and I was one of them. Okay,
that's awesome.
I to this day I can't remember the specific game, but I remember him at the 49er game there at Candlestick. And because I used to go up there all the time. I worked for many years. I worked for Topps Trading Cards.
Oh, wow. I remember them.
For many years. Yeah. And remember, we didn't have pro football here in LA for, I think it's 27 years or was 26 years or whatever it was. I think it was 27 years we didn't have pro football. 28 years.
Wow.
We didn't have pro football here in LA. So they used to send me up to San Francisco, Denver, Seattle, San Diego on a regular basis. And I was in Candlestick almost every other weekend. If it wasn't Candlestick, then it was across the bay over in Oakland.
Right.
And so I remember covering a game one day there at Candlestick, and this brother taps me on the shoulder, and it was I didn't know his name at the time, but he was asking me all these questions, and I remember he came up with a Canon. I want to say a F1.
That sounds right.
EOS 1 with a 70-210 2.8. And he looked at me and he started asking me questions. And I remember I looked at him, and he will attest to this day. I looked at him, I said, dude, you see all these dudes out here with these 400 2.8s and these 300 2.8s and these 600 4s.
Yeah.
I said,
300 is like the minimum.
yeah, minimum. Well, most of those would have a converter on.
Right.
Yeah, because I used to have that. I said, man, you want to come out here? I said, dude, you got to play the game like these dudes are. Right. You see me with my 400 2.8, don't you?
Right. So you just gave it to him straight.
Yeah, I gave it to him straight. Man, you got to play. It's just like these dudes playing the game in front of you. Mm-hmm. You got to play the game just like they do.
Right.
And he never forgot that. He brings that up all the time. And he said that transformed him. Yeah. That was like an epiphany or something.
Epiphany, yeah.
Yeah. And he said that's that's when he went and bought the equipment and started investing in more equipment, and one thing led to another, and now he's a superstar. And I'm so proud of him. I really am.
Yeah, he put in all of the work. He invested in himself, but he also put in a lot of hours to really get better at that craft. And it was just talking to him and listening to his story. It was so daggum inspirational. Yeah. And because he's from a tech background too. Right. He's an IT guy.
Right. So, I went to school for photography. I was a graduate of the School of Visual Arts in New York. But no, that's my man. Right, that was the last season. That photo was taken at the last game of the season last year, because the Rams' last home game was against the 49ers.
Against the 49ers, that's right. Yeah.
Right. And that was the game where the 49ers came in and beat them and made the playoffs. Yep. But the Rams had made the playoffs, but they didn't win the division. Yep. Right. And that photo was taken at that.
That's awesome.
At that time.
That's awesome. Down there in SoFi Stadium.
Yeah.
Good stuff. This episode of Hands on Photography is brought to you by Nareva. Today's IT pros are in a tough spot. The shift to hybrid working and learning means they must equip and support more spaces with audio and video conferencing systems. At the same time, they're busier than ever with network security and the shift to cloud-based solutions and infrastructural issues, and the list goes on and on. Whew, I gotta tell you, I don't miss those IT days at all. These factors, along with product shortages and delays, have put an unprecedented strain on IT resources. People, time, expertise, and budgets. This has driven customers to demand intelligent products that require minimal effort from IT to deploy and manage at scale. That's the key, at scale. With the bonus of requiring zero end user training on the top of that. So yeah, you got to get at scale, and you got to be able to just do this without training. That's asking quite a bit, right? When it comes to audio conferencing in large spaces, it's common to be faced with multi-component systems that are complicated and costly to design, install, maintain, and manage. Nareva is changing that by offering solutions that deliver a high level of simplicity. With Nareva, you get true full room mic pickup and just one or two microphone and speaker bars. Compare that to the complicated maze of multiple mics, speakers, amps, DSPs, switchers, cables all over the floor and all over the walls and the traditional systems. It's just a mess. This is a much better solution. You can install a Nareva system in most spaces in less than half an hour. If it's a larger space, it's probably going to take you about an hour or so. Either way, it's pretty quick, amazingly simple, and no special expertise are required. It's literally like a DIY project that you would do at the house. Good stuff. Compare that to the installation for traditional systems that can take your rooms offline for days. And some traditional systems may require you to go from room to room and use some type of complicated software to get it configured. Nah, not with Nareva. With Nareva, you can monitor, manage, update, and adjust all Nareva systems from a powerful cloud-based platform called Nareva Console. Nareva is very scalable for large organizations, and their systems cost a fraction of traditional systems. So listen, Now you can get 50% off one Nareva HDL 300 system for mid-size rooms when you get a live online demo and buy before December 16th, 2022. Visit nareva.com/twit. That's NUREVA.com/twit. Nareva.com/twit. I appreciate Nareva for supporting this episode of Hands-On Photography. Now I want to look at a couple of other images for you. So let me switch the screen here. Like this one here. Again, we're talking football.
I think that's the same game, Mike.
I assumed that it was because I'm looking at the jerseys. I'm looking at the jerseys like, that looks like their the current Rams jersey because I can tell from the color gradients on the numbers and so forth.
Right.
But again, shooting football for, yes, I shoot high school football. I haven't been able to shoot pro ball or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But in my experience, I try to sort of plan out my shot based on where I think the ball is going. And I find that it tends to create a much more dynamic and bit of energy in the shot, especially if you have the reach. You clearly have the reach on this one. I don't know if you're using a 400 or 600, but you clearly have some reach on this shot. But what is your approach when it comes to shooting for football games, be it the pro level? Going back to
what you just said, you can do that if you want. You can try to pre-think out the photo, but it's very difficult to do that. And I use Sony equipment. Okay. I'm a Sony shooter, and that lens is a 200-600. I think it's a 3.5 to 6.3.
Wow.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
3.5.
Yeah. And so, and as far as a play like that, that's what I call a string it out play. You start on the quarterback. You start on Matthew Stafford in that case, and then you just have to string it out. I guess that's the best way to describe that. If he gets the ball out, obviously he got it out to Cooper Kupp out in the flat on that. And you just have wherever the ball goes, you play with. Now you can sometimes you can anticipate it. I call it like baseball. You can guess at it, but sometimes you lose and sometimes you win.
Right.
So it's kind of in my opinion, it's I know this is going to sound simplistic, but to me, most sports, covering sports, is luck and angles.
No, that's legit. That's legit.
Because he could have got the ball and ran the other way.
Sure could.
So and then you're jacked, out of luck. And so you just have to be looking for it and just catch it if it's there. If it's there, you catch it. If it's not, then okay, next play. You can't. It's hard to predict that, because you just never know what. You certainly don't know what those coaches are thinking upstairs,
right? And
where that ball is going to go, and who they think they can take what defensive back that they can take advantage of, and so on and so forth. I mean, you played the game, so
and I don't want people to sit here and think that I'm trying to be some type of magical genie and know where the ball is going. No, I don't necessarily mean that. What I mean by it is I know it's 3rd down and 8. And they've been getting stuffed on the run for a quarter and a half. They're probably not going to try to run a power off left tackle. More than likely, they're going to try to run like a dig route 9 yards in, because the NFL game is really, really precise on that, And so that's where I sort of try to point my lens, on the high school level or what have you, I know the down and distance, and I'm sort of trying to point my lens about, oh, they're probably going to do this. And again, it's luck. Sometimes it works out and sometimes they totally just go the other direction.
And when you're talking about the pro level,
it's so precise with those guys. I love it.
Yeah. And I had my son played high school ball and 2 years of college ball. Mm-hmm. And any pro will tell you that the difference between junior high school, college, and pro is the speed of the game. Speed. I played college ball, and it was so much faster, faster. Yeah. And that's the thing I noticed about the NFL. Those defensive backs on him like, oh my God. 300-pound defensive linemen
they can scoot too. Yep, they can scoot too.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, a hole closes up in the blink of an eye. Mm-hmm. And that's how come you very rarely see rare. I saw something rare this past weekend when I did the Chargers and the
Seahawks, yeah.
Right. And the Chargers scored a safety. Mm-hmm. Okay. And, you don't see a lot of safeties.
Not in the NFL. Nope.
You don't see a lot of, and I got it. And it was right in front of me, too.
That's awesome.
And so I got the whole sequence. And, so that's very rare, and it's like I also say, like in baseball, where I play at home plate. Those are rare. Right. And so you just have to be ready for it. That's all.
Right. Now, again, just looking at your preparation with an NFL game, my understanding is everything is sort of roped off for the press photography, and there's the whole dotted line and, a virtual rope, if you will, almost like you have a photo pit like you would in a concert. What is your thought process as far as navigating that? Do you take into account down and distance or quarter,
no.
Or do you just sort of camp out or?
No. First of all, there's no ropes. Okay. Now, if you want to talk about a pit, baseball, yeah, you were in a photo well, okay?
Right.
And so you can't, you've only got, depending on the stadium, mm-hmm. You've only got about 4 locations that you can shoot from. Okay, that's baseball. Okay,
right.
But NFL, you're right. There's 2 lines. There's a white line and a yellow line, mm-hmm. and you can, if you want to, you can go up to the white line, but you have to kneel. You have to go down on your knees.
Right.
The yellow line, you can stand, and you can go anywhere. The only place you cannot go is the bench area.
Right. Yeah, that's normally boxed off with paint on.
Right. Well, but it's the same line.
Right.
It's the same line. And so, and none of us, we're all pros. Mm-hmm. We all been doing this for a long time. So we know where we can go. We mm-hmm. know what we can do. And none of us wants to get kicked out.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, and all the security knows us. Mm-hmm. And basically here in Los Angeles, I would say there's really only about 30, maybe 40 of us that cover all the teams, and we at all the games, and we all know each other, and all the security knows us. So there's never an issue.
That's
never.
Awesome. That's awesome.
And I'm sure it's the same in Bay Area, New York, Chicago. So everybody's trying to make a living.
Yeah.
And so there's never any issues. But no, I can go in the end zone. You have to kneel in the end zone. That's the only thing. I try to, I'm not as young as I used to be, so I try to avoid going down on my knees a lot. But I have knee pads and everything. And so I'm prepared for that, But no, there's no. Yeah. Like I said, everybody's professional and everybody's trying to make a living.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Now I want to pivot into another shot here because again, You've been doing this for a very, very long time.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
You've been shooting for a very long time. And this particular image right here is proof.
Yeah.
This is proof of how long Mr. Reece has been doing this. You know, this is the legendary Lakers and Celtics rivalry. Oh man.
That's in, I want to say Game 6, 84.
Oh my gosh. I saw that and I'm like, just the thought of being down there on that baseline and
In
seeing
the NBA Finals, I think it's Game 6. The caption will, I know the caption will tell you. But at the time, nobody knew, but I think it's 6 Hall of Famers in one photo.
Isn't that crazy? Just
I think it's 6. Yeah.
Unbelievable. There's Worthy, there's Kareem, there's Parrish, there's Bird, there's Johnson. Just I saw this and I got chills, man.
I've sold that quite a few times. But yeah. In fact, I donated it to a fundraiser. I went to summer camp 9 summers straight as a youth and a teenager. And the summer camp that I worked at in about 40 miles north of Boston had their 100th birthday, or should I say anniversary. It was back in June. It was this year. Uh-huh. I went back for the 100th anniversary, and they auctioned that photo off. I donated that photo for an auction.
Nice.
And they got a nice piece of change for it.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is awesome. But yeah.
And also, and that was a costly photo because if you go back and watch, I think it was Game 6. The Celtics won that, and they won that game, and they won the finals. They beat the Lakers, and the fans stormed the floor that night. And you asked for some crazy stories. Okay? I'm pretty sure it was that night. I don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure it was that night. And it was a stampede.
Right.
Okay, I'm sure
Boston Gardens, man.
Yeah, your fans can find it. I'm sure it's on YouTube, and it, like everything else. And they stormed the floor that night, and I to this day I can remember. I felt like I was in the middle of a stampede.
Yeah.
and I mean, they were just coming from all angles. And I got by the way, I've got photos of that.
Right.
And that was crazy that night. And I just, but I lived to tell. So
yeah. When I'm looking at this image here. Let's see. So I'm looking at this image, and it's just so dadgum iconic. I mean, just perfect timing. Do you remember what you were shooting with to capture this?
Oh yeah. Well, I call those the film days.
Of course.
So I'm pretty sure I had my Canon F1. Because in those days I was using the Canon F1. By that point, was at 84. So I had been shooting for a reasonable amount of time by then. And I probably had a Canon by then I was using 2 cameras, which I still do today. But probably a Canon AE1 program also.
Wow.
Yeah. But I remember. Yeah. And that's probably with my 85 lens. I suspect. I think that's what it. But by then I had a 200-2.8 also. So
you really stepped up, man. 200-2.8 on a basketball court. Oh my.
Yeah.
That's
nice.
Nice.
That or an 85? That's a good question. That's one of the good things about digital. That's one of the things I like about digital. There's a lot of things few things I don't like about it.
Right.
But that's one of the things about it.
Now, there's another iconic photograph here that I want to just sort of going back into the vault, if you will. Let me switch the screen here. This image here.
Yeah.
Man, the one
my son
only.
Has that on, my son has that on his wall.
Oh, my goodness. Michael Jordan, Chicago Bulls. Michael, his Air Jordan, Chicago Bulls, going in with a bit of a kiss the rim slam dunk.
That's in the old LA Sports Arena. That was against the Clippers, and that arena doesn't even exist anymore. That arena, they tore it down for the new LAFC. I think it's Bank of America Stadium on the same spot. But I remember the thing I remember most about that game was. I was covering Clippers on a regular basis by then because I had moved to the West. Because I had moved to the West Coast by then. I moved to the West Coast in November of '86.
Oh, okay.
So that's probably right around 90 or somewhere in there. I can go back. I blogged all my games.
Based on the sneakers, I'm guessing like 90, 91.
Yeah. That sounds about right. And I remember how the Clippers were so bad back then. And I remember how the parking lot was usually empty. Okay, but that particular night, I remember I got off of work and then I tried to get in there and then I couldn't get in the parking lot. I barely got into that parking lot. And that's when I kind of realized, like, oh, that's right, it's the Bulls tonight.
Right.
You know, and so I got there. But yeah, that's an incredible photo. Yeah. By the way, that's not the only photo I have of him.
Oh man, I can only imagine. So you're going to the arena. You know it's the Bulls tonight. You know Michael Jordan is not on the injury report. You know, do you have something in mind? Or is it still, I need to make sure I'm following the game and making sure I'm getting the critical shots? But what is it like? I mean, it's freaking Michael Jordan, you know, and not his rookie year. I mean, he has made a name for himself. You know,
to be honest with you, Ann, I really kind of, I don't really approach games like that. I just, you know, at that point, I don't think he'd won a championship by that point.
No, he hadn't, but he was still Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And he was playing in front of packed houses. But, you know, I to this day, I really don't approach the only games that I really approach where I really are kind of like really thinking about them or the competitors is, you know, the really big games, the postseason games, the bowl games. And I haven't done a finals in a while. So, you know, I did a couple of World Series, but to be honest with you, regular season games, I really don't. All I do is all I think about is just really just getting there and beating the traffic in. That's God's honest truth. I really do. I mean, beating the traffic in.
Lord, please let me beat the traffic tonight.
Beat the traffic in there. Getting something to eat and getting to my spot, and that's really kind of how. If it's a regular season game.
Oh,
you know,
dude, I love that.
I don't really have any specific, you know, I know the one thing that I know, I'll come out of there with some pictures.
Right.
I will come out of there with some pictures.
I love that. Now we're going to switch to one extreme here, if in my opinion. So let me switch the screen here. We're going to go from MJ, his airness, to this shot here. So to our folks that listen to the show on audio and don't watch it, I'm looking at a NASCAR shot. There's three images, three cars here in the image trailing each other in one of the turns. And what some folks don't know about me in particular, I used to be somewhat of a NASCAR fan, being a Southerner, coming from the Carolinas, and my grandfather was a mechanic all of my life. So I was always in the cars, and my college roommate used to work part-time with NASCAR, and it all just sort of just came together with me, the engineering side of it and all of the physics and stuff. It was fascinating to me. It's not as interesting to me now, but back then, 20 years ago, it just really fascinated me. And then as I got into photography and just looking at sports in particular, NASCAR is one of those things that I never really thought about shooting. So with you being able to go from all of those different sports with the ball, you're now into auto sports and shooting a NASCAR event. What is that like? Because there's only so much that you're going to see, especially in NASCAR, because it's just a circuit, Yeah.
Well, I always say, they're driving 200 miles an hour and making a left turn.
Yes. That's it.
That's it. But first of all, that photo you showed was taken this year, okay? Out at Fontana. And, this year was the first time I had gone out there in probably about 10 years, really. And here's the thing about NASCAR. I'm not a fan of it, but I find it very difficult to photograph. Okay, and I'll tell you why. First of all, now you say you were a fan, so you've been there, you've been to the racetracks and so on and so forth. For those who have never been to, and I'm sure quite a few of your viewers have not been to a NASCAR race, it is ear-splitting. Okay, and if you don't have either headphones, or
some type of plugs, man,
or
it's
some
loud.
type of plug, your head is gonna explode.
It is so loud, and you're outside.
That's the thing you don't realize when you're watching it on TV.
You are outside, and you still can't hear.
It is ear-splitting. Okay, and those cars are loud.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and now it's funny. And I'll tell you. In fact, me and the photographer were talking about this on Sunday, actually, at the Charger game. When we got out there, it was last year you got shot at. Yeah. Earlier this year. And we were sitting in there and with the other photographers, and we saw this dude. And this dude was dressed like he was going into battle. Okay, I mean, he had all his equipment. This dude had glasses on,
goggles,
he had, mask on, and he was covered. He had gloves on, and his arms were completely covered, and me and this guy from AP, we were kind of like sitting there laughing at him. Like, what? Like, you going into battle or something like that? Like gamma rays or something? Like, what the heck is this all about? And so, but that guy had to laugh, okay? Because I went out there on that, specifically that photo that you're showing, okay? That's taken from, they have photo spots for photographers in the fence there. So you can see, but what you don't know is when those cars come by, and when they're coming by, all those particles,
all that rubber
is shooting all over the place. You get rained on. I'm out there I got my nice fancy hat on, and I got and I'm getting pelted.
Yeah.
I mean, pelted. I mean, it was just like that photo. I only handled it for about a half an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, literally. No, I kid you not. I hung in there for about a half an hour.
That's saying a lot.
I'm serious. It was like getting rained on.
Mm-hmm. I've been to the races. I've been down in the pits and stuff because I've gone to some hosted events. People hosted me there, and had all of this whole VIP stuff. So I've gone down there and I've seen all of that stuff. I know exactly what you're talking about. It ain't for the faint of heart.
No, I mean, and that was like I said, that was not the first time I'd shot NASCAR, and I kind of forgot that.
Yeah,
and so I said, okay, enough of this.
I'm out.
And so I have to tell you, I went back to the media center, the photo media center, and I just waited for the race to end, and then I got the winner and the winner circle and all that, and so on and so forth. But I hung in there, and I tried to make some other photos. The saying in the business is try to make a photo.
Right.
Try to make a photo. Try to tell a story.
Right.
And I tried to do that. And now this is a little different. This one is a little different because you're allowed to, if the pit is empty, if the team is not in the pit and it's empty, a photographer is allowed to go in there and you can shoot. Mm-hmm. And I just happened to luck up, and this guy came in for a pit stop.
Right as you walked in. Wow.
Right. Well, I was there for a little while. And the guy came in, and he needed a pit stop. And now you get to see that up close. And you see how they're in and out of there. That car's in and out of there, maybe
14.
More than 25 seconds, maybe a minute?
Oh, it's less than that. It's really quick. Most NASCAR pit stops, I think they clock them at about 14 seconds when they're in the box.
Yeah, that'd be about right. Right. Yeah, because I mean, it was fast, And there's another shot that I have. I didn't send it to you, but where the fuel is shooting out of the back of the car.
Yep, and they have the catch can behind the car to try to catch some of it.
And so
yes, I know NASCAR. I know.
Okay, yeah. So, and by the way, I've spent a lot of time in North Carolina. My mother's from God rest her soul. My mother was from Greensboro. So
okay, all right, yeah, I know Greensboro.
A lot of time in North Carolina.
That's where the Aggies are in North Carolina, A&T, and all of that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, spent a lot of time in Greensboro. A lot of time. I haven't been back there in a while, though, but trust me, spent a lot of time in Greensboro.
That's awesome. Now, Mr. Kevin, this has been a lot of fun. I'm going through these images that you shared, and it just shows me that, you're more than a photographer. You're a freaking artist, sir. I mean, that's what I want to say to your audience. That I know my email subject said sports photographer, okay? but I really don't consider myself a sports photographer. I've always considered myself a visual artist. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't send you some of my other work because I think we need to stay on the subject at hand. But no, I consider myself a visual artist. I've done a lot of other types of work. I've done portraiture. I've done model shoots. And I give myself photographic projects. Okay. And frankly, I know you and probably a whole lot of other people are going to probably get mad when I say this, but I'm bored with sports. Okay.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, I know. But I'm bored with it, and so I try to create something else. It's very, sports photography does not, in my opinion, it doesn't lend for a lot of creativity.
No, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
I think
because
sports,
the clients need a very specific type of photo.
Right.
But I personally give myself photographic projects throughout the years, and I have quite a few of them that I could share with you at another time.
Now, I don't know about you, but this is something that I'll do from time to time, far as when I consume sports photography, because just like you said, there's only so much that you're going to be able to do, because the client, whether it be Sports Illustrated or Time or whatever, they have a specific assignment in place for that photographer. But what I find myself doing is when I look at that image is I'm usually looking beyond the subject. I'm looking into the crowd. Mm-hmm. Because there's fun faces and stuff going on in the crowd, especially like, say, Dwight in the catch, he's extended for that ball, but what's happening right behind him as that's happening? What are the faces doing in the crowd? I like looking at stuff like that. Do you?
I've done well. The best example of that is Halloween every Sunday at a Raider game.
Oh yes.
Hey, okay.
Oh, I'm sure they do it up for you.
I got a ton of photos like that.
You got to send me some of those. Oh man, Mr. Victor, our editor for the show, he's into the Raiders too.
I call it Halloween every Sunday. But no, that's another thing. That's another one of my projects. Now, I sent you another photograph of SoFi Stadium, but I will tell you also that I have a photograph of every stadium that I've ever been to throughout the years.
That's
every
awesome.
one of them, and 90% of them inside and out.
Nice.
In fact, I've got photographs of stadiums that don't even exist anymore, including Candlestick Park.
Something like Candlestick, yeah.
Yeah. I've got photographs of the Boston Garden that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, a ton of them, that I could go right off the top of my head that don't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. So, somebody told me that many, when I started out in the business. Mm-hmm. Somebody told me that always get a photograph of the stadiums that you go to, inside and out. And I never forgot that. I love that. And I do it every time. Now, I know, I don't take a photo of Dodger Stadium every time I go to a Dodger game.
Well, you got it now.
I've already got it. Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, so that's one of the projects. And my other one is, in fact, I'm going to do a slideshow with my family on Friday night. A photographer, now I want to give your fans a tip, your listeners and your viewers a tip that somebody gave me many, many years ago. Okay. And I think I don't know, I think I sent you one, but to be honest, I look more for reaction than I do for action. Right. Okay. And somebody taught me that many, many years ago, that reaction, and if you think about it, it's really true that reaction tells more of a story. Man,
it will give you whatever emotion right then and there. There's no doubt about it. In fact, as you're looking at me right now in my office here, all the photographs behind me are reaction photos. Yeah, like that.
None of them are action photos. Okay, they're reaction photos. And a bunch of bobbleheads too. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm a New York boy, so I'm
of course.
And so I've got a bunch of Yankee bobbleheads, and my son works for the Dodgers, by the way.
Oh, nice.
Yes, he does. And so he's been giving me some Dodger bobbleheads. But all of the photographs behind me are reaction photos. And so because they tell so much more of a story. And I kind of look for that more than because I know I can get a quarterback fading back. I know I can get a pitcher pitching. I can get a batter swinging. I can get Cooper Kupp with a ball coming across or something like that, or a running back coming through the hole. I can get that all day long.
Right.
But the reaction tells really a story and tells so much more of a story.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you say reaction, do you necessarily mean, all right, say going back to football, the reaction of the defensive back because Cooper Kupp caught the ball, or is it the reaction of the official right there in the frame, or is it the reaction of the coaches in the back? What are you?
I'm looking for really expression. Now, if you wanna break it down, okay, there's a photograph behind me. That I didn't send it to you, but I think it's Super Bowl 40. Okay, I was at, and the wide receiver for Pittsburgh scored on a double reverse, if I remember correctly.
40. Santonio Hines Ward.
Right, Hines Ward. And he scored it, and he is laughing at the defensive back in his face.
Yeah. And he was skipping too, right? I think. I remember him skipping too.
And if I remember correctly, the play was a double reverse.
Yeah, I remember now. Antrell Roll, I believe.
No. The guy was at Kansas State. I remember that.
Oh man.
Yeah. But he passed the ball and like completely fooled the Seahawks, and so it's really strong expressions like that.
Was it Randall L?
Yeah,
Antoine Randall L. Okay. Yeah.
Right there you go.
I'm sorry, that was going to drive me nuts if I didn't figure it out.
I remember he was at Kansas State. I remember that.
No, he was at Indiana. He was at Indiana. Antoine Randall was an Indiana Hoosier on their football team.
Okay.
He was their quarterback.
I thought it was Kansas State. Okay. and so that and so I those are the ones that are really I look for. But now, as far as I'm not looking for a ref or I got one this Sunday. I got one on Pete Carroll. Yeah, because he
LA
really,
ties.
Yeah, and so he really freaked out. He really, when they scored, I don't remember they went up like by 15 points or something like that. And he really ran. He almost ran out on halfway onto the field, and
right.
He was
he's always been animated.
yeah, right. Even his USC days, yeah. Because I got plenty of shots of him his USC days. So that I'm looking for more of that than just. I got a really good one. Your boy Debo when they beat the Rams in that last season game, coming off the field. So and that's the kind of the ones I'm looking for.
Yeah. Now I got one last question. It's just popped in my head because you've been there, done that. Not this past Sunday, but the Sunday before, or maybe it was a Monday night. It was the Las Vegas Raiders and the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe. And at the end of the game, the Las Vegas Raiders wide receiver, Devontae Adams.
Oh, yeah. I've seen the tape. Yeah.
He's coming off the field angry, because they should have won that game. They should have. But again, we're dealing with, air quotes, gladiators in this sport here. There's a lot of emotions, a lot of testosterone, and I get it. That you lose like that, it's going to piss you off. The story, as most people may know, is he's coming off the field at the end of the game to go into the locker room, goes into the tunnel, and there's a photographer. The media was saying he was carrying a camera or something. He was carrying a C-stand.
I don't think he was carrying. He was. It was a
C-stand. Yeah, it looked like a C-stand in his hand. Okay, so he was someone of doing some type of media production, just there to do his job. He's walking in across the tunnel as Davante Adams was going into the tunnel, and Davante Adams pushes him, just like, man, get out of the way, and pushes him, violently pushes him, and it knocks him down. You know, and a bit of the heat of the moment, Davante Adams clearly was out of his mind, clearly is in the wrong on this. Let's say that was you or another photographer that's there just to do their job in covering this sport. What are your thoughts on that scenario? How would you have handled that if it's ever something that would happen to you? Because it's a lot of emotions between those lines from those players in the game and after the game. And these emotions can be very, very high, or they can be very, very dark and low, like those were for Adams. What are your thoughts?
It hasn't happened to me. I've had run-ins with PR people, but not athletes.
Right.
And I mean, I've been hit by foul balls.
Ouch.
Yeah. Yeah. My shin hurt for about a week.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I had Derek Fisher fell on me one night, and they stopped the game, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, they did. So help me God, they did.
What?
And
Wow.
Yeah, Derek Fisher fell on me, and it kind of halfway knocked me out.
Oh, man.
And in fact, he and Kobe came over and asked if I was okay, and I was seeing stars at the time.
Yeah.
But then I kind of like, I remember looking over at the bench also, and like Phil Jackson, like that, and you're like, but they stopped the game. They did stop the game for a moment.
Wow.
And then I kind of came to, and I was okay for the rest of the night. But my wife calls it my 15 seconds of fame.
15 seconds of fame.
Yeah, but that's
just a little subtle jab from her.
Yeah, Derek Fisher definitely. And it wasn't his fault. He got hit in midair, and he just kept on.
Right, there was no malice there, but this
no.
What Adams did, that was just flat out wrong. He literally. I mean, some places are going to call that assault, and I want to say the city of Kansas City did put it down as assault.
Yeah, you're right. And in fact, I think he get. They didn't arrest him, but I think they
filed a suit.
Filed a suit,
yeah,
right?
They filed a suit.
Right. Again, I've been in that situation. Yeah, you're right. When coaches and players are coming off the field, and you just have to, personally, I don't believe in getting in anybody's personal space, unless I personally know you.
Right.
If I know you well, then that's a little different, but frankly, in that situation, you're strangers. And I don't know, to be honest with you, and I probably would not have run up on him like that. I probably wouldn't have done that. And when I do those post-game things, when they're coming off the field like that, I tend to use my 70 to 210.
Yep.
Okay, so at least I've got a little bit of space there. And like the shot I got of Debo last year, I was a reasonable distance from him. They won the game.
Yeah, but see, all of that makes sense. What you're saying makes total sense. But this scenario, that equipment person, because he wasn't holding a camera, that equipment person was minding his own dadgum business. He was going across. He wasn't going towards the player. He was going across the tunnel to go do whatever job that he needed to do at that time. Like I said, it looked like he had a C-stand in his hands.
Yeah.
And just happened to be there at the wrong time. You know, that's my problem with it. He didn't go towards the player that just lost. He went across the same plane just at the same time.
Now I've seen security guys. Now, the one that is like a bear is. They all have security, and these college coaches have.
They have the troopers with them.
Yeah, and I've had a run in with that also too. But the one that's really the bear is Belichick's security, and now they have a history of knocking over photographers.
Yeah.
You're right. I was surprised when I saw that, and then I hear all these reports on Devontae Adams, correct?
That's right.
Right. That this guy's an upstanding citizen, and this guy, he was loved in Green Bay.
Yep, squeaky clean.
Yeah, and really, frankly, Aaron Rodgers ain't too happy that he's gone.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I was a little surprised at that, because immediately the man apologized for the situation.
He did.
And so on and so forth.
He did.
But then you read all these stories about people who take advantage of celebrities, and they get some slick lawyer talking in their ear. Oh, yeah, we can sue this guy.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be about $250,000 spent. I'm pretty sure.
And so I'm kind of 50-50 on that one, But yeah, I've seen the tape.
Sweet. All right. Well, Mr. Kevin, I'm not going to hold you up any longer here, sir. This has been
I got nowhere to go.
An absolute blast. This has been so much fun talking to you and just picking your brain and hearing the great stories. I seriously appreciate you being on with me today. Sure. This is awesome. Now, if folks are trying to find some of your work and things that you got going on, how do they find you? How do they contact you and check out some of the things that you're doing?
Well, right now, I'm really only on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but it's under KWR Photography. I think it's KWR Photography.
Okay.
On Twitter, but I'm regular Kevin Reece on Facebook.
Okay.
Just regular old Kevin Reece.
Regular old Kevin Reece. Give him a holler on Facebook.
I'm a member of a lot of groups. You can see my work on a regular basis on Antelope Valley Press. Just about not every day, but most days.
Nice.
From games here in Los Angeles. And what I'm really trying to do, I have a book currently. And what I really need from one of your PR people, like you say you got, is to help me with another book. I'm really looking for a publisher. Because I have quite a few book ideas, and I've got a huge archive, that I would love to share with people. And I've got quite a few book ideas that I think would sell, but I don't know how to approach.
I know a couple of people that have written books. I will reach out to them, get the information and resources that they are able to offer up, and I will get that back to you. I promise you. Because I know a couple people that have published several books, and someone.
But you said right. But we're talking about man. I can't write my way out of a paper bag.
Well, two of them are photographers. So,
okay. All right. I was going to say it's got to be a coffee table photo.
Yes, two of them are photographers, and one of them has written. I believe he has done over 40 now, and they're photography books. So yeah. I'll get information, and I promise you, I will let you know what they let me know.
Okay.
Thank you again, Mr. Kevin. This has been so much fun.
I appreciate it, and I'll keep in contact with you. Definitely.
Okay. All right, everybody, folks. That was Mr. Kevin Reece here on the show. Man, what a wonderful wealth of knowledge. I'm so glad that he's been on and was able to share these stories and share this information. Hey, it helped me out. I hope it helped you, the Hands-On Photography listener and viewer. Again, if you want to send in any comments, feedback, or questions, image critiques, shoot me a message. Shoot an email over at hop@twit.tv. Again, the email address is hop@twit.tv. I love hearing from you all, and I answer every single one of them as fast as I can. As we heard on the previous episode, it took me a little while to get one of these answered, but I did answer it. So just bear with me. So shoot your questions over, comments, and feedback, and so forth. And if you are fine with your image being shown on the show to the other viewers and listeners, please mention that in the email that you give me the consent to do such, because I don't want to do that without your consent. Give me a follow over on social media. I am ant_Pruitt on Twitter. I am ant_Pruitt over on Instagram. I have a lot of fun on social media, just chatting with everybody, and just tag me on those platforms. And I like seeing the images that you all capture and share with me. It's some pretty good stuff shared with me. So thank y'all for reaching out on social media. Thank you to my man, Mr. Victor, the editor that makes me look and sound good every dadgum week. And yes, Mr. Victor, we talked about your Raiders. Yes, we did. I don't know if we're going to do that ever again, though, sir. Sorry. All right, everybody. Hey, safely create and dominate. Keep sharing out the show, and I will see y'all next time. Take care.
Is that an iPhone in your hand? Wait a second. Is that an Apple Watch on your wrist? And do I see an iPad sitting there on the table? Oh my goodness. You are the perfect person to be watching iOS Today, the show where Rosemary Orchard and I, Micah Sargent, talk all things iOS, tvOS, watchOS, HomePod OS. It's all the OSs that Apple has on offer, and we show you how to make the most of those gadgets. Just head to twit.tv/iOS to check it out.